You're listening to Moviesucktastic.
If you're guilty, you're dead. I don't want to stretch this out, so why don't you tell how many kids are?
I know it. It all sounds like some bad movie.
Anyway,
Before we start,
Go ahead.
I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
As part of our drive to make this show safe for children,
It's not.
before we review the film, I think we should go over the IMDb's Parents Guide.
Ah, yes. I'm sorry. I should have realized we were going to segue.
Yeah, and eventually we'll have an official person to do this, but I didn't plan ahead, so I didn't have that. So starting off here, there is sex and nudity in this film, The Punisher. The Punisher is shown praying naked twice.
But ironically, not the work print.
No. Once near the beginning of the movie, and once just before the end credits. Only the top of his bare buttocks are visible very briefly.
Here it is now, actually. Good timing.
Oh, and there are naked women are briefly seen in a nightclub.
Which is not in the work print.
Right. That's right. The nightclub's not in the work print?
No, it is, but the naked chicks aren't in it.
Sorry, they added that in later.
Yes. They did.
Violence and gore. There is a lot of violence and gore. Lots of killings are shown throughout the movie. Shootings, stabbings, explosions, and neck breaking.
Yes, there is a few neck breaks.
People are shot with blood spraying out sometimes. That happens. A man is stabbed through the chest with a samurai sword, and blood is seen trickling out of his mouth.
Okay.
In case the blood makes it worse.
Sure.
The Punisher is shown snapping a man's neck, and later a woman's. A man is shown hitting a kid twice. That's my favorite part. 3 men in one scene, including the Punisher himself, are shown being tortured on a stretch rack. A man has a gun barrel put in his mouth and shot. No blood or corpse is shown. So technically, you don't even know if he was actually shot.
Yeah, they just pan away.
I mean, he was shot, but
oh yeah, they just pan away and you hear it. That's it. You can show that on Saturday morning cartoons.
Well, it wasn't a pan; it was a cut. But anyway,
or it was. You're right. It was a cut.
Sorry, I'm not trying to.
No. I did know that, and listen, they don't know that. They don't care that much. We care that much.
They do.
They don't.
They're
really
sticklers.
Don't.
That's why they're listening.
Mm.
A man is stabbed and hung up with a spear, and another man kicked onto some blades, but these take place in a red-lit room, so they don't look very graphic. Also, several
Tarantino before Tarantino made it cool.
Yeah, or before he tried to do it, and never mind.
Yes. Yeah.
And several people throughout are seen with knives being thrown into their necks and foreheads. Mostly, there's hardly any blood. A lot of those knives went in chests too. I want, for the record, I think they need to edit that.
Yeah, they punctured many things.
For profanity, at least 20, so there could be more. Maybe they lost count. F words and other strong profanity throughout. Alcohol/drugs/smoking. The Punisher's contact is an homeless drunk. At one point, he bribes him with a bottle of liquor. And then a couple of scenes in a bar are occasionally shown with people drinking. Frightening, intense scenes. And they don't give any scene. They just say, suggested MPAA rating is R. So that's not a frightening scene, jerk. Okay. But so if you have young ones listening to the if you have young ones listening to the show or watching the show with the Punisher in the background, please be warned.
Yes.
So I think we're safe now, so please continue, sir.
Okay. One of the things that Scott had mentioned to me, I think you might even have mentioned it on the show last week, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't listened to it, but
Anyway.
you said that Why did you just throw the anyway in there?
No reason. Go ahead.
Don't do that.
Sorry. Go on. Go.
The opening of the work print is completely alternate opening to what they actually used in the final theatrical cut. And as Scott said, what he likes to call the Lethal Weapon opening. Which not only, and I was like, all right. Well, the thing is, it's like, I like I said, I've never seen the work print. So I'm like, I took it with a grain of salt.
Well,
And
explain
what I should have done was drinking tequila with that, because that's a lot of fucking salt.
Explain why it's the Lethal Weapon opening.
Well, very subtly, it's, white partner, black partner, okay? But more so, the music is exactly the same.
That's the icing on the cake, sir. But I mean, it's not just, black cop, white cop. It's the black older cop who's thinking of retiring.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's the young white cop who eventually goes crazy. You're just waiting for them to throw lines like, I'm too old for this shit, right?
Right.
It's that. Even when they pull up to the house, it's like, is that the same house? That can't be the same house.
But what really sets it in stone is the music. Now,
Right. Now,
the guy that wrote the music, his name is Dennis something or other. He works for Warner Brothers.
Well, let me explain for our audience, for people. Now we have a newer generation of people listening to. They may not be 100% on what a work print is. And a work print is a rough edit of the film where they just take the shot scenes and slap them together in the. It's not tightly edited. Occasionally there might be some loose ends here and there.
It's edited kind of how it's meant to be, but not entirely.
Not polished.
Right.
And they do this before so they can figure out what they're going to do for the final editing. Now, when they do this, since it's not a polished cop print, they don't put the actual music in there, and they don't do Foley editing, so they don't change the sound. You're going to hear a lot of the real audio that was recorded, and they put stock music in place. So they'll use like Danny Elfman stuff or whatever they think fits the moment. So it's not that, they copied Lethal Weapon. They took the actual music from Lethal Weapon and are playing it over the scenes. Which they didn't have, and it wouldn't have nailed them. Someone when they were watching, this must have thought, yeah.
Is that also because one of the other things I noticed is that the music from Batman?
Yeah, that's exactly
because the movie came out the same year, and The Punisher was actually slated to come out in August of 1989, and it didn't. Whereas Tim Burton's Batman came out in, I think, June of 1989.
Yeah, if you watch work prints with any regularity, Danny Elfman music is a staple. Really, because there's so much of it, and it's so basic, and so you can put it in there and pretty much say, okay, this is what the music's going to be representing during the scene. This is what we envision it. You don't have to worry about copyright because they're not supposed to be releasing it to anybody.
And let me just say, with the Lethal Weapon music and the music cut in from Batman, and just the other music, I thought that the soundtrack is actually better, only because it is from major films. It's better than what they ended up with, for real.
Yeah. I don't think they had a budget for the actual
Especially the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the way they ended the work print 10 times more than the way they ended the theatrical.
Well, as you mentioned, the work print doesn't have these end caps, which are the camera swooping through the sewers. That's right. The Punisher lives in the sewers. And coming up on his naked body while he voices over stuff like, I asked God why I'm here. He hasn't answered yet. Things like that.
Right.
The work print doesn't have that. The work print has just the work print ends just with Lou Gossett on a rooftop screaming, and then next thing you know, it's the shot of the Punisher, like a slow pan up of the Punisher with jeans and a shirt and guns, and I'm ready to kill.
But and they're playing like the metal music in the background, which actually works for the scene. It actually builds up the pan of the camera going up from the ground up to his face, where he's just kind of looking into the camera, and he's just kind of tilting his his head to the side, and like you said, he's just like, I'm ready to go. When are we gonna get that sequel done? That's what it looked like.
which they were planning on doing, but funding fell through when the entire company went under.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised that they didn't get sold, and then
Since we're talking about the the work print soundtrack and
Yes.
sound effects, because again they're just put in there as placeholders. Did you notice when they enter the building at the end for the big fight at the end? They get in an elevator and go up to this 40th floor or above the 40th floor, which is where all the Yakuza they have the whole floor.
Right.
And when the elevator opened, they used the Star Trek. Swishing.
Yeah.
I had it playing in the background because I was kind of half paying attention, just trying, because I've already watched the film. I don't want to watch it again. I'm just trying to catch little things out of the side.
Right.
And I just heard that and I dropped everything. I wish they'd left that in the film. Now, and we haven't actually talked about the film, and we're already comparing it to the version that didn't come out.
Right.
But one other thing I do want to point out that's different now my major confusion beginning was my work print is only 5 minutes longer than the theatrical release.
That's correct.
But there's an additional 15 minutes in the beginning of the film.
It's almost 20, actually.
Yeah,
It's like 17, 18 minutes. It's big.
And I couldn't find any major scene besides the 2 sewer runs that were cut out of the film. But there are places where the work print is a bit tighter, like there's like just tighter, just not as long of a shot as him running down the hall, things like that, because they haven't really fine edited it for time and everything. So I think that the difference was just little trims, like you mentioned, no naked women in the work print.
Right.
Little trims here and there, like maybe like 5 seconds here, 10 seconds here, must somehow add up to like 10 minutes, 12 minutes of footage.
It's got to be, because I skimmed through the theatrical cut just as a comparison to the work print I had just seen, and after that opening, like 17 alternate opening, it's pretty much almost dead on.
Yeah,
from what I saw.
Minor differences. Yeah, there are minor differences.
There are minor.
Now the film is about the Punisher. I think that's obvious.
Obvious.
Frank Castle, and he's a cop that his family's killed by the mafia accidentally. It was probably meant for him, and so he goes insane and becomes a one-man army against crime, known as the Punisher, vigilante, if you will. Drives around the sewer because why not? Drives a motorcycle because why not? And he's being pursued by Lou Gossett, his former partner, who's trying to prove that he is alive and is the Punisher.
Which shouldn't be hard to do, because he's just riding around the city on a goddamn motorcycle all the time.
Yeah, it's like that's why I like Thomas Jane's Punisher, which I think we are in agreement. The second Punisher is the best Punisher.
I actually like Punisher Warzone.
I liked it. Excuse me, I may have my throat for a second here.
I don't know I like the Thomas Jane one, but if I had to choose, I think I'd go the Punisher Warzone, because it's so violent, and it's no holds barred, and there really isn't anything to get in the way of just him just fucking everything up and everyone in his way too. Whereas the Tom Jane one, I mean, it does have the backstory. It's got to have that a little bit, but it's got John Travolta, it's John Travolta.
I like John Travolta in that. First of all, now I agree. I liked Warzone. I don't think it's a bad film. However, I do feel that in going for that brooding feeling, the fact that they did a lot of interiors, probably due to budget constraints,
right?
There's a lot more talking than I would like in a Punisher film. In that, and and Warzone has a very strong opening.
Yeah,
but
it does.
I think, the first act is fucking just oh yeah, and but by the time you get down to like the showdown at the end, it's like, oh, we're gonna do this old wheeze again, nothing different. So I mean, just as far as pacing and story and being able to balance that lightness with the brooding.
Right.
I thought Thomas Jane's was just the best one.
Don't get me wrong. I like the Tom Jane one. I do.
I'll give you it's a close call.
Yeah.
Now, so the first one, this one is not as good.
No, and you know what?
But there are inspired.
Here's the thing. All through the late 70s and the 80s, and this obviously counts as an 80s film, even though it didn't get released in America until 1990, and then actually 91, I believe, is when it came out on VHS and Laserdisc, if I remember correctly. But they almost got it right as far as, and I'm not saying like as far as like as like the writing and everything goes. Like Batman had just come out, that kind of set the bar really high,
Yes and no.
Well, yes and no, but no.
Yes and no.
But for the time period, it did. Batman comes out, and then this comes out in August. It would have been murdered at the box office. There's no way that this film would have survived.
Now, I think to be fair to the film, we have to look at it in the context of the time period. Now, for people that are 10, 15, 20 years younger than you or I, they're not going to understand that there was a period where comic book films were just guaranteed to be shit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me dive in, and you can build on this.
Okay.
The redeeming values of the Punisher. All right.
Okay.
Now, the obvious negatives are Dolph Lundgren.
As Frank
barely
Castle.
Intelligible dialogue. Yeah, it's Frank Castle. He has the body for it, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
They actually had to change the dialogue so he'd be comfortable speaking it.
Oh,
and so he'd sound semi-American.
Yeah, you can't get more of an American name than Frank Castle.
But not with that voice.
No.
Losing the Punisher skull, bad. In the sewers, really bad.
Yep.
Now, one of my favorite aspects of the film is his quote-unquote sidekick.
Oh, the drunk guy.
The drunk guy. Now, in the comic books, his helper
what the
was
hell was
Microchip.
his name? I remembered it, and then I forgot it.
I'll have to look it up. I forget to. But in the comic books, it was Microchip. It was this computer expert that helped him do all this hacking stuff, and he drove around in a van. And the movie's like, fuck it. He has an alcoholic actor that helps him.
Thespian. Oh. What?
Thespian.
What is that?
That's called 80s humor.
Yeah. You're a what? I don't swing that way, man.
Oh, he's Shake. He's called Shake.
Oh, that's right, Shake. Because he's an alcoholic and withdrawals give him the shakes. Sure.
And oddly, that's the only film he's ever been in.
Really? Did he die immediately after? Because I liked him.
Apparently he wasn't even an actor. That's the only film he's ever acted in.
Oh my God! You know what? He's probably like an English professor at fucking Yale or something.
No, hold on. I'm an idiot. I clicked on the wrong thing. I'm doing my research as we talk, and I clicked on Shake, the character, as opposed to Barry Otto, the actor.
Oh.
So there's only been one person that's ever played Shake because he's only been in one film. I stand corrected. He's been in tons of stuff. It seemed odd to me. I was like, that's not the only thing he's been in. This is weird.
He's too good.
Yeah, no, he's been in tons of shit. He is a thespian. Now, the film never clearly explains how an alcoholic, aging, out of work actor has connections to where drug deals are happening, or where these boats are coming in, or where kidnapped children being held. They don't really explain it, and I would have liked to see some scenes where he was like maybe shaking down people in the industry to still owe him favors, something like that. They never did. It's never clear.
Right.
But beyond that,
he's just a guy in the street that gets knowledge somehow.
Yeah, and the only I like that. I like that Frank kind of like takes him under his wing, or vice versa, and that camaraderie. I like the fact he speaks in rhymes.
Yeah.
I like that. It was comic booky without being cartoonish.
Right.
And the only other problem I have is when we first meet him, he's in a bar and he gets thrown out, and the Punisher gets his attention by driving a little remote control truck with a bottle of booze.
Yeah.
With a bottle of booze in the back by, and then lures him into the alley.
It's overkill. You're in the back of a fucking alley. Just walk over.
I figured the Punisher went through all that trouble just so he didn't have to go, Psst.
Yeah, and this is before the days of the internet. You didn't just order that shit online. You had to go into a store or get someone to buy that shit for you. You had to interact somehow to get that RC truck.
Well, when he gets in there, he says, "You were supposed to meet me here 4 hours ago." Thinking that was plenty of time to go out and buy a remote control truck and like learn how to use it and get the bottle.
Well, I may as well use this thing.
They're probably selling them.
Well, it would be hilarious if they had a cut scene of him just playing with it and like he's happy. He's just like, wow, this thing's fun. Oh, look at it go.
My kids would like this. Oh. That's why.
Lou Gossett, always a solid performance.
Lou Gossett always got it.
Yeah, especially in the jail cell where he goes and he sees him. He's like, fuck you, man. This is my family, too. It's like, actually, it wasn't. But I get what you're saying. Well,
just like Raj was a part of Riggs's family.
Yeah.
Even the family part. It's like so much.
Oh, yeah. The shit, you're right.
And I'm so... And thank God they scrapped that beginning. The film as it stands now starts where it should. But I mean, that was an interesting thing too. I rewatched this with Holly, and she even said, "It's like, what? No origin story?" It's like, no, this film doesn't really do that. It kind of goes right into it. It's kind of refreshing. It's probably one of the first superhero films in that time period that didn't go through a fucking origin story. And then it's like, oh, the work print. Oh, there's the origin story. It sucked. And they realized it. I mean,
yeah, they used a couple of scenes from it, just of the car exploding with his family in it.
The flashbacks, yeah.
They just
the
used
little
it for
girls
flashbacks.
in Spider-Man outfits.
Yeah.
Yeah. But give them credit. They shot it like, wait, this sucks balls. Maybe we should just like not bother with an origin story. You kind of get the drift. His family's dead. Great, cool. I like that.
God.
Now there's one.
Why won't you answer me?
Now for the time period too, it was also kind of violent for a film. And
yeah.
I mean, again, coming from like Batman.
I mean,
Captain
it is an
America,
R. It did get an R rating. They didn't try and get a PG-13.
But there's a bit of brutality to the film, and like you got the kids being kidnapped, and the Yakuza's already collected the money, selling them to those white slavers. And like,
oh right,
oh yeah. Even before they've killed the mafia heads, like, oh, they paid up, yeah. Oh, well, we already got the money for the slavers, so we might as well sell these children to some. And is it just me? Were the slavers Italian too?
Weren't they Islamic?
They looked Italian to me. Maybe I'm catching.
Oh, come on,
by the
man.
way, it was a dark alley. They had mustaches. That's all I could see.
I think they're Islamic.
Again, another film with a great representation of Italian Americans.
Yeah. Oh, I love the one mob boss from the beginning. In the mob boss that's actually in the origin story of the work print. He starts off the movie walking out of court saying that he's been acquitted of killing Frank Castle and his family, and he's like, "How does it feel to be to be free of these charges?" He goes, "Oh, I feel great." He goes, "What do you feel about the Punisher?" He goes, "Well, if he comes within 1,000 yards of me, he's going to know what punished really means." It's like, you just got acquitted because you were accused of hurting people.
But you're doing it wrong. You got to put that like Italian accent into it.
I'm not going to do that.
You got to. Yeah, I'll tell you this. I can't do.
I'm not going to do it.
Whenever I do an Italian accent, I know, like you die a little inside because I can't do any accents.
It's okay.
But yeah, great Italian American representation. But there's a lot of scenes like that, and now this is one that I can't prove, but I'm now in the original print, in the theatrical release, when he rescues the kids and the one gangster's son is captured, he isn't able to save the one son, and he gets on the bus. And they ask, "Where's Billy or Tommy or whatever the fuck his name is?"
It was Tommy.
Tom is like, it was Tommy, and he says, "It's like, oh, he's not here. We're gonna go back for him." It's like really positive. In the work print that we watched, no one mentions it. It's like, oh, we're down one, forget it. I strictly remember because I remember everybody being like, "Whoa, that's kind of harsh." In the print I saw, I swear that he gets on the bus and they say, "Where's Tommy?" And he says,
"It's Catherine." They're actually asking for Catherine.
What?
They're asking for Catherine. They said she's left inside.
No. This is after he comes back with Catherine. when he comes back to the bus. He goes back for Catherine. He gets Tommy and Catherine, but then Tommy gets stuck back. He comes back, and they say, "Where's Tommy?"
I must have missed
This is after he comes back with Catherine. In the theatrical film, they say, "Where's Tommy?" He said, "We're going to come back for him." In the work print, they don't ask where Tommy is. I swear, in the copy I saw way back when, he says they got him, and that's it. Like, oh geez, you just told the kids he's dead. And there's also the work print we saw in the original theatrical release. At the end, when he kills Tommy's father, and Tommy's like, "I'm going to kill you," he kneels in front of Tommy and puts the gun to his head. He's like, "Go ahead, do it. Go ahead, do it. Go ahead, do it." Like, just calm, straight.
Like I'm going to show you how, and yeah.
But it's very calm. It's like, "Oh yeah, go ahead, do it. Go ahead."
He yells at him. He yells at him a couple of times.
No, not in the theatrical release. Go back and watch it.
Yeah, the work print he does. Yeah. You're right.
In the work print, he's like, "Go, do it! Come on!" He's like, yelling at him, and I love watching work prints and alternate cuts because it's interesting. Where at some point they said, this scene doesn't need that.
You're scaring a kid.
Maybe they could instead of scaring the shit out of him, he could just try to reach him a different. And it's curious that they actually tried both ways when they shot the film, and I think that alone gives the film some credit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the whole ninja fight in Coney Island, which was filmed in. This is actually an Aussie film. It was shot in Australia,
Sydney, I believe.
Yes, that whole Coney Island thing was actually in a Sydney amusement park. So technically, this film is Ozploitation to an extent.
Oh, God.
But we got kind of sidetracked on that. But I'm
glad we did.
Any other parts of the film that you think are worth talking about?
I think we kind of hit everything. You can't really shit on the work print only for the reason that it is a work print, and it was almost like it's like throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks, things like that. And I think the only thing I'll say is I think some things worked better in the work print, and I think some things worked better in the theatrical cut. And I think if someone was able to get a clean copy of both, like you can get the Blu-ray on the theatrical, and re-edited the film, I think you'd have a pretty good movie if you use what worked from each.
Yeah, definitely. I would try to lose as much of the sewer as possible. Now, as far as the differences, did you notice the difference in the when Frank Castle is being taken to prison, and the female cop is yelling at him? Did you watch those two scenes?
I didn't watch. No, I just watched the one in the work print.
Okay. Oh, sorry. So now in the theatrical version, before the mafia attacks the truck, it ends with him saying, "Call him," and she said, "What?" "Call him," and it stops.
That's
in
theatrical.
The work print, theatrical, right?
Yeah.
In the work print, she says, "Why?" And whatever he says, I can't understand. I rewound it 4 times.
Oh, I know what he says.
What did he say? All I got was like,
no, he says, tell him to bring the pie.
Tell him to bring the pie.
Yeah. Or tell him
what does that even mean?
Tell him in the origin part of the work print, he gives in the car, he goes, "Why do you eat like that?" He goes, "Well, I don't have some, amazing wife cooking me, gourmet dinners." And he goes, "Yeah, you do." And he gives him something to eat that his wife made him, and it's this pie. So the next day, because it's his birthday, the next day he goes to the house, and it's got the streamers, happy birthday balloons, and they're all going out to breakfast or whatever. And he tells his wife, he goes, "Do you know that pie was the best part of my night?" And she goes, "Well, there's more in the fridge." And he goes and he gets a big hunk of this pie, and he's all happy about it, and he's just couldn't be in a happier place at his house eating the pie with his family. And and Dolph Lundgren's like, "We're eating in an hour," whatever. So what he says is he's referencing to that pie in the origin part of the video. I'm not saying it makes sense, but that's what he says.
I can think of 2 reasons why they cut it. 1, because it references the origin they cut, and 2, because it makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, they couldn't leave it in there because that origin part was completely out.
it's his wife's pie he's talking about. She's dead. How is he going to bring? What is the metaphor for the pie if it's his wife's pie? It doesn't make. He might have just as well said.
But that's what he said.
The fuck. No, I mean, I wish I did. I wish I didn't know because that angers me now. And you know what? There are some.
Me.
Again, there are some weak spots to the writing, like too
Some.
much pun. Oh, what's the?
Some.
Well, I mean, there's some really bad parts.
No, you're right.
When he's being tortured, and she asks him, "Is like, who sent you?" He's like, is that true? Is that multiple choice or true or false? It's like, it's neither. She just asked you the fucking question. What do you? That doesn't make any sense.
No, it's like Mark Goldblatt is like, I got to tone down the one-liners. Joe Piscopo went crazy in my last movie, so I got to, like, when he puts the scientist or whoever the henchman, whatever the fuck he is, on the table, the stretching table, he goes, I don't want to stretch this out, but where are you keeping the kids?
Did you notice there's a missing scene? There's a missing shot or missing something from that scene. Did you notice when they put him on the rack and they're stretching him when they leave? He has red high heel shoes on.
He does. Yeah, he's got on one foot and then it's off the other.
Yeah. There's something important missing.
Yeah.
From that scene.
And I'm glad you brought it up because I forgot about it, but I didn't have time to write notes for this one.
Yeah, there's some. I think the best lines are after they catch the Punisher. Like, what do you call 75 people? 500 people dead. Work in progress. All right, I'll give you that. I'm cool with that.
I punish the guilty. If you're guilty,
what?
You're dead.
I almost choked when you were playing the trailer. I hadn't seen the trailer yet. At the end.
Oh, the vengeance line.
It's justice with a vengeance. What?
Who wrote this?
I don't know if they're trying to be funny or not. Was that supposed to be funny? Because either way it is. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
I'm confused. Anything else you want to mention in the film? I mean, I covered the main point.
I think we touched it all.
The other thing I want to say is
you know what's funny? The only thing that's on right now, the scene where he drops the detonator down, the shake. He drops the detonator down in the like the sewer part. Like there's a grate, and he drops it down there. He uses the knife to press one button, but doesn't use the knife to press the other button.
He drops it because so far it drops. I think.
Well, they don't show that in the theatrical cut. They don't show him dropping it. They might have did it in the work print. I don't remember seeing it there either.
I think because he ran out of time. I didn't have a problem with that part.
No, it was just it was on now, so I brought it up now. Otherwise, I wouldn't have brought it up.
Okay.
All right. So, what is it on IMDb? 5.6.
Yeah. The red high heels are still visible in the theatrical version as well.
All right. So there's got to be something there then.
Yeah. They lost something.
Yeah. Yeah, they did.
The only other thing I'm going to say is when he drops into the casino and shoots it up to motivate the Yakuza to give up the kids, he makes some really weird expressions while he's shooting that giant machine gun.
Yeah, he's making a duck face in one of those scenes.
Yeah.
It's like, this thing is really heavy. It's
and now again they put the skull on these little daggers. So he stabs a lot of people with daggers and throws a lot of daggers at impossible lengths. Just so I think it was just an excuse to get the skulls in there somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I read something funny on IMDb that I thought didn't really occur to me until I read it, and somebody said he never uses the same gun twice, and he will drop guns for no reason whatsoever.
This gun's heavy. I'm just gonna find another one.
Especially at the end,
it's like a video game mentality. Like, yeah, I'll come across ammo at some point.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
Like in the beginning, like they'll shoot people, and then there'll be a fight, and then he'll throw the gun away. It's like, all right, I don't need that anymore. Like, whoa! Oh, and I do have to mention briefly that the end fight scene. Two of my favorite parts of the end is for the final fight sequence when they take the elevator up to the top floor, and the elevator doors open, and the room's full of samurais.
Yeah.
And it's like a lifetime mastering the samurai quick draw, and they mow them all down before they can even get their swords out. It's like fucking beautiful. And the Punisher proves that there's only one way to kill a ballerina.
You got to snap her neck. That's just the way.
Snap it. Snap it.
So what you got to do. All right.
They're
So
wild.
IMDb has this as a 5.6. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
5.6. Uh-huh.
So what are you thinking? How should we go on this one? I mean, obviously nothing less than 5. I would feel it's at least an average movie, but I almost want to say 6 is too high.
The film is not horrible. It's average, especially for the time period.
Yeah.
And what little charms it has in the film aren't enough to actually elevate it above mediocrity.
Okay. I think I might give the work print a 6.
Definitely, it loses the butt crack shots. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
I like the ending better in the work print.
Yeah, but the opening sucks. It would drop it back down to a 5.
Yeah, well, like I said, maybe we should just do it ourselves. Put the work print into the theatrical and just do it right.
So 5?
5 is fine.
I agree.